They did it again. After years of promising change, after countless apologies for Montreal, for WrestleMania controversies, for every single time they've manipulated results and destroyed careers, WWE just pulled off the most disgusting, corrupt, absolutely shameful screw job in modern wrestling history at the Royal Rumble 2026, and this time they didn't just screw Drew McIntyre out of his rightful championship reign, they forced CM Punk into retirement, suspended the only honest general manager in the company, and exposed this entire operation as nothing more than a rigged circus designed to serve the egos of a select few. If you're not absolutely furious right now, you didn't watch what just happened, because what went down at the Royal Rumble wasn't just bad booking, it was a complete betrayal of everything this business is supposed to represent. Before I break down every single corrupt decision, every backstage manipulation, and every piece of evidence that proves WWE deliberately sabotaged Drew McIntyre's reign, I need you to drop a comment immediately. Do you think Triple H is running WWE, or is Vince McMahon still secretly pulling strings from behind the scenes? Because after what I witnessed, someone with serious power wanted Drew McIntyre destroyed, and they succeeded. Let me start from the beginning, because this conspiracy goes deeper than just one night. Drew McIntyre won the World Heavyweight Championship at Survivor Series 2025 in what many called the feel-good moment of the year. The Scottish Warrior, after years of setbacks, injuries, and political obstacles, finally captured the big one on WWE's main roster again. His reign was supposed to be legendary, supposed to be the dominant run fans had been demanding since his return to WWE. He was cutting the best promos of his career, having instant classics in the ring, and the crowd was completely behind him. But here's where the problem started, and you need to pay attention because this is where the screw job was planned. Exactly 2 weeks into Drew's reign, CM Punk returned to WWE television after being out with a storyline injury. Punk immediately inserted himself into Drew's business, not as a challenger, but as a concerned veteran who questioned whether Drew was ready for the responsibility of being champion. The promos were fire, the tension was real, and everyone assumed we were building to an epic Drew versus Punk match at WrestleMania. Wrong. What we were actually building to was the systematic destruction of Drew McIntyre's credibility, orchestrated by people who never wanted him as champion in the first place. Quick trivia question for the real fans. How many times has Drew McIntyre been WWE or World Heavyweight Champion throughout his entire main roster career? Drop your count below, because this screw job might have been his last chance. The Royal Rumble card was stacked. Drew McIntyre was defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther in what was advertised as a dream match between two of the stiffest workers in the industry. CM Punk was the #1 entry in the Royal Rumble match itself, promising to go the distance and earn his WrestleMania main event spot the right way. Adam Pearce, the Raw general manager, had been featured heavily in storylines, guaranteeing fair competition and promising that the Rumble would be booked with integrity. All lies. Every single word was a calculated deception. The Drew versus Gunther match happened third on the card, and for 28 minutes, these two absolute warriors beat the hell out of each other. Chops that echoed through the stadium, suplexes that shook the ring, near falls that had the crowd on their feet. Drew hit the Claymore kick at the 24-minute mark. Gunther kicked out at 2.9. Gunther hit the powerbomb at 26 minutes. Drew kicked out at 2.9. This was championship wrestling at its absolute finest. Then, CM Punk's music hit. Drew was setting up for another Claymore. Gunther was stumbling in the corner. The match was reaching its climax, and Punk's music destroyed the moment entirely. Drew stopped, looked at the entrance ramp in complete confusion, and Gunther recovered just enough to roll Drew up with a handful of tights for the 3 count. New World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther. Drew McIntyre's reign ended in controversy after just 67 days. The crowd was confused, angry, chanting for a restart. The commentary team was speechless, and CM Punk, he never even appeared on the ramp. His music hit, but he wasn't there. It was a ghost entrance, a phantom distraction designed specifically to cost Drew McIntyre his championship. Let me ask you something, and really think about your answer. Was that CM Punk's decision to have his music play, or did someone in production deliberately deliberately sabotaged Drew's championship defense. Comment Punk if you blame CM Punk, or WWE if you blame company corruption. Backstage, immediately after this disaster, cameras caught Drew McIntyre absolutely losing his mind. He stormed into Adam Pearce's office, demanding answers, demanding a rematch, demanding to know who authorized Punk's music to play during his match. Pearce, looking genuinely confused and upset himself, promised to investigate immediately and get to the bottom of the situation. But here's where it gets even worse, and why I said earlier that Adam Pearce got suspended. Pearce discovered through production records that Punk's music was cued by someone with executive authority. Not a production mistake, not an accident, but a deliberate decision made by someone with power. When Pearce tried to announce this finding and order a rematch for Drew McIntyre, he was immediately interrupted by Triple H appearing on the screen. The Game, the head of creative, the man supposedly running a new era of WWE, told Adam Pearce that he was overstepping his authority, that the match result stands, and that if Pearce continues to interfere with executive decisions, there would be consequences. Pearce, to his credit, didn't back down. He argued that Drew deserved a fair title defense, that manipulation of match results violated WWE policy, and that as general manager, his job was to ensure competitive integrity. Triple H suspended him on the spot. Adam Pearce, the most honest authority figure WWE has had in decades, was removed from power for trying to do the right thing. Let that sink in. The one person fighting for fairness got punished, while the people who orchestrated the screw job faced zero consequences. Now let's talk about the Royal Rumble match itself, because if you thought the corruption ended with Drew's title loss, you haven't seen anything. CM Punk entered at number 1 as advertised, and for the first 15 entrants, he was absolutely dominant, eliminating opponents, cutting promos between eliminations, playing to the crowd, doing everything a vintage CM Punk performance should include. The commentary team kept emphasizing his cardio, his determination, his quest to main event WrestleMania one last time. Entry number 16 was Drew McIntyre. The Scottish warrior, after years of setbacks, injuries, and political obstacles, entered the Rumble with one goal: destroy CM Punk. The crowd erupted because everyone knew these two were about to collide, and the tension from earlier in the night was about to explode. They met in the center of the ring, nose to nose, and the brawl that followed was absolute chaos. These two legitimately hate each other. You could see it in every strike, every move, every moment of their confrontation. They fought on the ropes, they fought in the corners, they brawled through other competitors like they didn't exist. This was personal, this was real, and the crowd was eating up every second. Here's a question that shows how much you've been paying attention. How many Royal Rumble matches has CM Punk competed in throughout his entire WWE career? Look it up and drop the answer below, because this one might have been his last. At the 47-minute mark of the Rumble match, with about 12 competitors in the ring, including Drew and Punk, the unthinkable happened. Drew had Punk set up for elimination, literally had him on the top rope ready to throw him out and end his WrestleMania dreams. But as Drew went to push Punk, something went wrong. Punk's knee, the same knee that had been surgically repaired multiple times, that had kept him out of action for months, buckled completely. Punk collapsed on the apron, clutching his knee in obvious agony. Drew stopped his elimination attempt because even in his anger, even with all their history, you could see the concern on Drew's face. Medical staff tried to enter the ring, referees were checking on Punk, and the entire Rumble match ground to a halt as everyone realized this wasn't a work. Punk was legitimately injured, and based on the way he was reacting, based on the immediate medical attention, it was serious. They helped him to the back, the match continued without him, and the crowd sat in stunned silence, wondering if they had just witnessed the end of CM Punk's career. They had. About 20 minutes later, as the Rumble match was reaching its final moments, a graphic appeared on screen. CM Punk has announced his retirement from professional wrestling effective immediately. No fanfare, no ceremony, no chance for the fans to say goodbye, just a cold graphic, and a career ended in the middle of a match. The wrestling world exploded. Twitter crashed. Reddit threads multiplied by the thousands. Fans were crying, debating, arguing about whether this was real or another work, but the evidence suggested this was legitimate. The age, the injury history, the way the knee buckled